Hello, everyone, and welcome to my show where I interview amazing creatives, writers, authors, poets, filmmakers, all of Lindy, you fall into all those categories.
Wow.
So today, my guest is Lindy Lenk, who I consider a friend. I've known Lindy for a long time and we've worked together, but she's Detroit-based writer, filmmaker, photographer, educator, and author of Isabella's Gate, a children's book for all ages. She has a Bachelor's of Art from Wayne State University, where she graduated summa cum laude. Am I saying that right?
Summa cum laude, yeah.
Okay. She has won multiple awards for her writing, including the John Clare Award for Poetry and the Wayne State University Tompkins Award for Poetry. Her poetry and photography have been published multiple times in the Wayne State Literary Review. Lindy is currently working on developing her short story, Belle Détroit, into a screenplay, which she plans to direct. You do so many amazing things, Lindy.
Look who's talking.
Oh. Well, you know what? Listen. So I've recently enrolled in Jan Canfield has this program, like this program. So I recently enrolled in it, and I mean, this has been said so many times, but it keeps coming up where it's so important, like for you to be around the people that really mirror you, or you want to mirror them. And I think this is so true because I always feel I'm so blessed to be surrounded by so many amazing, talented people. You know, we started working together, but before I get into that, the reason I invited you today because we recently went out and watched a movie. Thank you for inviting me. That was so that was great. I had not been to the Detroit Film Theater in over 12 years until you invited me to watch Four Daughters, which was such a good documentary. And then we went and had coffee. And we were sitting there talking. You were talking about your work, and I was learning so much, and we were sharing so much. And I thought, Lindy, others need to hear this too. And I think, aside from you having been so prolific in many ways, but you teach, and so that naturally, you feel that when you're sharing something, people are really learning something from it, right? But let's go back all the way from your childhood. What was your childhood background like, and what led you into this field?
Well, I was born in Detroit, and my mother was a poet. Her family, writers and poets. So basically, I grew up hearing rhyme and rhythm, and I, almost to the point where I didn't want to hear it because my mom would make rhymes about everything. So I kind of grew up with that. So I started writing poetry at a young age. And I think I was 11 when I wrote my first poem, and, it all rhymed and everything. And it was about a baby fawn because I always loved animals. So yeah, it started then. And I just always had a love for writing, for poetry, for visual expression. I was a daydreamer. So I used to dream about, what it would be like to, to make a movie, but it was always felt like it was so out of reach because this is in Hollywood, and I thought Hollywood's like another planet and you have to go there and live there to do that. So yeah, that was basically it. And that's kind of how I fell in love with writing. My family, my great aunts in Illinois wrote books. And
So you were supported early on. There wasn't that resistance of you becoming a writer or anything like that.
well, I don't think anyone thought I would become a writer. It was more about, oh, she's writing, that's so sweet, that poem,
It was
But
like
my
a
mom
cool
and
thing
dad
to
always
do.
did know. I was always the one kind of, they always did know that I wasn't sticking with what they called traditional jobs, and that's a struggle when you don't do that. It's definitely a struggle in a lot of other ways, but it's one that I accepted early on because I love to do what I do.
So, I knew you've been involved in many areas, but I mostly knew you as being involved in films and teaching at the Motion Picture Institute of Michigan. And I knew that because I was somehow connected even after I graduated from there, like a long time ago. I graduated in 2005. But, I kept the connection. And then I saw
Mhm.
that you were been teaching there for a long time.
Mhm.
How did you get involved into film?
Well, the film incentive here made a big difference for me because before that I was in hair and makeup. I went to cosmetology school in high school. So my whole life has been geared toward in the beauty and fashion industry. And when the film incentives came, I started doing hair and makeup for films around here, for indie films. And then from there, being a writer and and a photographer and always loving all of that, I sought out another degree in media arts. And when I was going to school for that, I realized that the Motion Picture Institute, MPI we call it, existed, and I was in shock that I hadn't heard about it. And so I signed up and went there. And yeah, from there, I fell in love with storytelling, visual storytelling, directing, and art and all of that.
Yeah, I'm also very thankful for MPI. It was like a 10-15 minute drive from my house.
Mhm.
It was full time, so it was very intense and very serious.
Very.
At that time, I was the only girl in my class. You know that?
Mhm. It's still,
And
it's still a ratio of
is
not as many females.
is
Yeah.
it okay?
Mhm.
But I have to say, the people that I worked for the most part, were very supportive.
Mhm.
I made connections with a couple of the teachers that played a big role in my life later as I wrote scripts
Right.
and tried to. So, regardless, I think that that's the whole point, is that if you really want something, if you just look, if you look
Mhm.
around you, you will be amazed at what you can find. And if you don't use any excuses, you can
Right.
really make things happen. So
Can.
MPI was very, very influential, of course, for
Mhm.
me. And I only went to write for the screenplay. Then when I found out, like you said, it seems like um, films and stuff are just reserved for Hollywood. And I found
Right.
out, particularly my stories, it was very hard. It was going to be very hard to break through. So I said,
Mhm.
I think like what I learned from there, I think I can do this. I did my feature thesis, my short thesis, and it gave me this sense that I can do this. Um, then when I was doing Pomegranate, my feature film, so you were involved in that.
Yeah.
You were
Sorry, that's
involved in
my
many
cat.
ways.
That's my 100-and-some-year-old cat who's deaf and decides she wants to sing right
You
now.
want to bring her on? Like,
She will just be like all over the place.
she'll
Yeah,
get all the attention.
she's bouncing around a little bit.
Okay. All right. Well, she's not bothering me anyways in any kind of way. Um, but you were so incredibly helpful with Pomegranate, as was everybody else. I mean,
Mhm.
everybody worked like a team. Our producer,
Yes.
Sam Sacco, our editor, Jamal Adams, and there were so many people that were from MPI. How many did we
Mhm.
have? We ended up with like,
Yeah,
I think,
I
five.
brought a few on. Yeah, for students, current students, some of my students from before. Yeah, and it's like a family. Film is a family. When you're working that closely together on a project and everybody becomes so passionate about it, you feel like a family, and yours definitely was with the bonus good food.
Oh yeah. Well, you have to, feed family good food.
Oh yeah. I
And
always say it's food. You have to feed your crew, and you have to. That's what I teach my students. They laugh at me, but food is one of the most important things, even in the production office. It really is. If you don't have food.
yeah, sometimes it is those little things that make a big
Mhm.
difference. And I know that I honestly, this movie would not have come through if it wasn't for the participation and everybody stepping up to the degree that, when you're an indie film, you're wearing so many different hats.
Mhm.
You are wearing, and the way that people understand, even if they haven't done their own indie film, that
Mhm.
this is a project of love from the
Right.
heart, and you're working with very little budget and little, what they call a skeleton crew. um but anyway, it was this collaboration that helped make it happen. Given your background and as a teacher and having worked on so many sets, what is your observation is that helps make indie films a success, where you're taking it from the script to completion?
Well, it's what I teach too. It is all about pre-production. So pre-production, getting prepared before you even set foot on set. And that is the hardest thing for a lot of people to understand, because people get an idea and they're like, I want to shoot this. And all of that work that goes into prepping is what's the most important. And of course, gathering a crew together that is that believes in your passion, your dream, and working together. I think that's the most important part. You've got to have that camaraderie. If there is any kind of discord among people, any kind of problems, it can create a bigger problem on a smaller set. So, but basically it kind of attracts those people who want to wear a lot of hats. So it is, like you said, you wear a lot of hats. On a bigger production, you're hired to do what you do, and you do not cross the line. On indie films, you're 1 minute doing this, and then can you help with that? Can you hold this cord? And it's kind of a collaboration, and everybody becomes very involved. So the pre-production and getting people around you who really support you and want to see this through, they kind of take it on like theirs.
So I have to say that this reminds me of something that, even though we had what you would call a skeleton crew, but we had quite a few veteran filmmakers on there.
Right.
So Sam Sacco has been in the field for over 40 years. I want to say now, I think it's like 50. Kevin Howitt, who was our cinematographer, has been around for so long. So we had these experts in the area who help bring it all together. And then you're right. Everybody else that comes on senses that, and then they just follow in that direction. And another thing is being prepared. You're absolutely right. I started the script in 2016. It took a while. By the time I wrote it, it took a while pre-production. So I think when somebody really cares about a project, just be patient with it. So don't give up on it. But also trying to hurry it all it could do is just create frustrations, and that doesn't get anybody anywhere. So on the set, so you gifted me this, which I have in my library, and I think it was shortly before we started shooting that you published Isabella's Gate.
It was in 2020. It happened right in the midst of the pandemic. I didn't plan it that way, but that's just
so it was shortly, because we started filming in 2021, and I reached out to you in that year to work with us. So in 2020, I started seeing this book because you were posting about it. We were friends and everything on Facebook. And I thought, oh, how fascinating that she is also writing a children's book. So and then I learned the background story to it when we went out Saturday. I was so captivated by that. I always love that for artists, writers, we can actually put junk out there into the world. We can be writers and just put whatever and not care. But you're a very conscientious writer, and just in general, and all the work that you do. And I love the story that was behind Isabella's Gate. Please share it with us. I'd love for our audience to hear this.
Well, Isabella's Gate, like you said, took a lot of time. It was actually a 20-year journey that it took me on. And it all began because I had moved back from Greece with my kids, and we have a house. We got a house. We had to get a house quickly, and it was not the house of our dreams. It was not in the greatest location. So I created this courtyard, and you couldn't see the courtyard from the street or anything. And I created this little courtyard. It became so magical. And all of a sudden I started thinking of the story started coming to me about like Margaret with her garden in Isabella's Gate, everyone thinks she just has rocks that she's watering. They can't see the flowers because they just don't have the ability to see beyond what they think should be there or is there. And at the same time, I was also a parapro for my son, Luke, and he was, I think, in 3rd grade. And I was a parapro at the school and helping the kids read who needed a little extra help. And I found that they really loved rhythm and rhyme. their eyes sparkled. They perked up when I was reading them. Tom goes up the hill. They were like so bored, yawning. So I thought, well, they really do love this, and there's something to it. It does help. It does help the mind learn how to read, and that's how my mom taught us. And so it comes naturally to me. So I just started. One day I started writing this journey, and it started with directions to the house. And again, when you've been sitting with something for a while and it's been in with you, part of your life, it just starts talking to you, and so I would put it away for, a year, take it out, put it away. I didn't know what I was going to do with it. But finally, I think it was around 2016, I said, I need to get this out. I need to finish it. And luckily, my husband, Norm, is a graphic designer and marketing person. So he was able to design it the way I wanted. That's why I self-published. I wanted it a certain way. I wanted to design the pages, and I wanted it my way. So that's why I self-published. And
It's
it
an
took a while.
amazingly, it's such a quality book, and I did not know this about your husband's involvement in this book. But the images and the design. Well, you're also kind of, you're an artist in your own way, but you're very creative as well.
Yeah, I wouldn't consider myself an artist. I really didn't study art. I was just doing things from my heart. And I did a little art. I have done some things, and I had a friend who started off with me with the book in the beginning. He and I was writing it, he was illustrating it, and then I would add to the illustrations. And then finally I just took it over when the book started evolving, going in a different direction. So I took some of the illustrations out that were originally there because the book just started taking a little bit of a different turn. So when it finally was published, it was a little different than how it started, but basically the same story, just a little bit more mature, I think.
So can you read us a little bit from the book, please?
Sure. I also am working on an audiobook. So that I've already recorded, and I'm going to be going back to finish that in a couple of weeks. So I'll finally have an Audible, and I recorded it in the sense that I wanted it to be more of a bedtime story. When I read it to children or go to, do readings places, I'm usually more animated, but I wanted it to be more of like one of those gentler go to sleep type stories that you could listen to a little bit. So I'll just read a few of the stanzas here. This is the soft cover, by the way. This is on Amazon. The hardcover is a limited edition. I do have some left, and that was from my Kickstarter campaign that I wanted to do it a certain way. So, and then I published this on Amazon. So this is when Isabella keeps going to Margaret's garden. She keeps looking. She can't see the flowers. She's frustrated. The kids all make fun of Margaret, but Isabella just thinks there's got to be something to this. So she is persistent. Sunshine turns to moonlit nights outside of Margaret's gate. Isabella comes each day to look, keep watch, and wait. She seeks to find the answers to questions deep inside. Why can't I see the flowers grow? I've tried and tried and tried. I'll hold my breath 2 minutes and tightly close my eyes. And after that, if all's the same, this garden is full of lies. And then that's that page.
Beautiful.
Margaret keeps on watering. The can shakes in her hand, and like her house with crackled walls, she too is frail to stand. She hears the girl's frustration. It's true what they all say. I don't see flowers growing here. Isabella turns away. Margaret murmurs through the air, why choose a path of stone, while seedlings sprout beneath your feet from seeds your dreams have sown? So that's a little excerpt from it.
Thank you. That was so beautiful. Yeah, Lindy, where can people find you, or what should they follow so that they can keep informed, and then they will know when the audiobook, especially, or when they want to get this book.
Okay.
Where can people reach you?
So I have a website, isabellasgate.com.
Okay.
I have an Instagram page of the same name and a Facebook.
Okay.
And TikTok, but I haven't done a lot with TikTok lately. I have to get back doing it. I know that you're so good about that. I love your TikTok.
I just started being good at that because it's not as easy. Like I watched these videos that said, "Oh, just 10 minutes," and you just post.
I know.
I'm like,
it's a lot of work, and I'm too busy doing other things. So, but then on Amazon,
I was like 1 hour making a tweak, and how do I change the song? And yeah, it wasn't as easy,
I know.
Once you get it going, you do have a little bit of fun with it, and I think the audience start getting a little bit of an idea of who you are.
Yes, and I've done some, and I have a YouTube as well that I have some of the readings that I was doing during the pandemic.
I saw that. Yes, I saw that. So there's a lot of out there.
There's a lot out there, and then even on Amazon, you can get the soft cover. The hardcover will be available soon, but it won't be the one that you have. I have a limited edition, so if somebody wants that, they would have to contact me.
Okay.
Yeah.
But they can go on your social media and do that. So, so we've talked about all the wonderful things related to your work, but as we both know, there's a lot of challenges in being a writer, being a filmmaker, all the areas that you've been involved in. What would you say has been your major challenges?
I think for me, my major challenge as a writer at home, an independent, filmmaker, and it has been deadlines, pushing myself to get things done. Like I have to be held accountable by a writers group somewhere that I will get it done, because otherwise I can be lost in worlds and not get things finished in time. So that's my biggest challenge. I have a lot of ideas, and it's also figuring out what I want to work on at any given time. And I'm blessed with those ideas. I mean, I'm not complaining about them. I'm blessed. Like you, I'm trying to figure out what to do next, which I'm working on a short story that I'm turning into a screenplay, and I am going to direct probably a short. I think I just want to do a short, hopefully within the next year.
So is this mostly what you're working on currently? Is the script? When did you start that, and what is the script about?
Well, the short story I started quite a while ago again, probably back in 2016 or 17. Things take time, and it's something that, especially if it's close to your heart, I think it takes time. So this is a story about a homeless woman in Detroit. It's not based on Stella of Greektown, but she was my inspiration because she lived on the streets until she was in her 90s. And so it's based on, the fact that there was somebody so magical living on the streets, and lessons that when a woman from the suburbs who's kind of like frustrated with her life and unfulfilled meets her and learns from her in one magical night. So that's basically it in a nutshell.
Wendy, you took me back in time. I remember Stella so well.
I know. I think everybody who went downtown in Greektown remembers her. So she's my inspiration. I'm kind of like her memory, is in this, but it's not her life per se. It's a different life.
Well, I think from the pictures that you post, the photography, and a lot, even the fact that the word is in this short script, you can feel your love for Detroit. And when we recently visited and we drove to the cafe, and that whole experience, I mean, it's part of the experience, not just because of the places that we went to, but it's also being with somebody like you who you could feel you really love the area and you know it inside out. Like
I'm down here now, living down here.
What is it?
I live down here now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And you live. Yeah, you live, and that's why the daily photography that you provide. So, you know what I feel when I see what you post is that I used to travel a lot when I was younger, and I still do some travel, but one of the things I really learned, because for a period of time where I couldn't go too many places when my kids were younger, or I couldn't go as far as places as I used to, I realized that we have so many wonderful things right around us that all we have to do is just look
Yes.
into our area. This is what you do in every post that you provide with us, is that we see into the place that, even though I went to Wayne State as well, I graduated from Wayne State University, and I do go to some areas, like I go to the DIA, and I'm just not, I mean, at the museum, like you came and visited, I can't get my I can't find my way around the building oftentimes, believe it or not. I have to ask for directions. Yes, believe me,
Well, it's
I'm
pretty
like
big.
that.
You can get lost
When
in
I
there.
go somewhere, I have to know, like I had to have been there. I like totally rely on GPS, or like somebody else will drive or something like that.
Yeah.
But I love that. I see the love that you have for the area, and you are educating us, and you are sharing. We're taking that in right now. Technology and the internet, this is what they're providing, where we can share these experiences without even having to travel there, even though traveling there is really the ultimate experience.
Right.
But I really appreciate about how you do that. And then now with your script, there your kid, that's so cute. I know, I saw her passing by back and forth.
She's hopping around.
And now with your script, I do appreciate that as an artist, how much the expressions that you have for your city. I think that's a wonderful thing. I mean,
Yes, I
what
do.
would you say for people? Sometimes, when we're thinking of ideas, I see people trying too hard to find ideas, and I say, just look within your own self for these stories. Look around you. I mean, I don't know if you want to share anything like that, because this is what Isabella's gate is about. That's why I was so impressed when you were sharing the stories. Like, you were able to see what the other people, you were patient enough to see it. And that's where the treasure is.
It is. It really is. If you take that time to really look, and then you can see. I realized when I'm really busy, time passes, things pass me by, I forget things, and mainly it's because I wasn't in the present moment to really see it, and I'm trying to get better at that. So I would say to look around you, look outside, find the little things, and really see them for not just what you define them as being, but what they really are, because we put labels on things and we say, like a dandelion, that's a weed. You could look at a dandelion as something completely different, as something that is good for the environment, which I look at, and see it for what it is. And a lot of it also has to do with just the circle of life, life and death, and in anything from a seedling coming up to loved ones, to animals, to ideas. Everything has a beginning and an end, but it's more like a circle to me. New ideas come back again. So I would say just keep your mind and heart open, and your eyes, and actually see things, and they'll talk to you. They'll tell you things. They will inspire you. And even if you're driving, this is what I like to think too. When you're driving and you're behind somebody and they're going very slow, and you're in a hurry, you're late, I always look at that as being a blessing. Like, maybe that person's telling me, or the universe, God is telling me, slow down, so that nothing happens. And so I do. So looking at it that way, I think just looking at things differently. And that's what Isabella's Gate is about, is seeing things differently, learning to see, basically.
Yeah. And I think that seeing is what helped, the quality that you have with that is what helped us on the set. Having that kind of vision where you were seeing, sometimes it got pretty chaotic. And
It always does. It always does.
yeah. And then the way you stayed centered, we love you for that. Everybody loves you. Everybody, like my family, Zena's family across the street and all that. And thank you again, Lindy, for all the work that you did for Pomegranate, by the way, but also I am so grateful that through this film, I got to meet you, got to know you, and that that we became friends. And I look forward to future projects that you do.
Me too. Thank you. I'm honored to have been a part of it. So
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for watching, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.